Hello, everyone. Welcome to Get Lit with Dr. Hazel Jay. I am so happy that you're here joining us today. And today we have a very special guest.
My name is Livia Brown, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, native, and I'm here to speak my piece.
Hey, I love it, I love it, I love it. So we're going to go ahead and get started with Getting Lit with Dr. Hazel Jay. First thing we're going to do, we're starting this thing where we go ahead and open up with the interactive activity. So I just pull a random card out of this little notebook, and then we just quickly talk about it. And then after we talk about it, then we go into our show. Today's topic is going to be about relationships, how our relationship has helped guide us to become who we are today, doing the work that we do because we decided to choose faith over fear in the situations, in the relationships that we are dealing with, or we were dealing with in the past. All right. So, question. Well, this is what the card says. I ask God to remind you to take a deep breath when you need to be gentle and patient with yourself. That deep breath may be all you need to feel His love in a new, refreshing way. What does that mean to you?
That means that it's time to stop and listen to Him and see what He's saying to me in my situation. So I take that deep breath before I go off to thinking anything else to see what He says first.
Okay. Now, how are you able, what scripture comes to your mind when you think of taking that deep breath, being gentle and patient with yourself?
Is there anything too hard for God? That speaks to me. I think I have that on some of my, it's on my email, and I keep that within because is there anything too hard for God? So therefore, I know that He provides me with everything that I do. So is there anything too hard for me to try it or do or to accomplish with Him on my side?
Awesome. Now let's take that and let's go into your share about how you chose faith over fear and how your story, your journey within your relationship led you to become this amazing woman that you are today.
Thank you. Well, I'm gonna take it back a little bit and talk about my relationship with me and my husband. He's here today listening, and I'm going to share, so I hope he's good with it. But in this relationship is what has brought me to where I am today, so of course I want to share it. So long story short, we have been together over 36 years.
Wow, that's a snap right there.
Yeah, 36
that definitely
years.
is.
So of course, with that time invested, we've been through some things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, we were in the world, knew who God was, but still straddling the fence, let's say. And we went through things. We separated for some years, and it was 7 years. And when I separated, I discovered that 7 years was a year of completion. Okay, so
look, I have 7 tatted on the back of my neck. That's my favorite number. I have 7 stars on my hand. Yes.
So within those 7 years of our separation, God spoke to me to let me know what part of me I forgot who I was.
Mm-hmm.
I was allowing things to happen in the relationship that was not good for me or healthy for me.
Mm-hmm.
And He separated us, sent him off on his way, and kept me where I am. So I had to stop and pay attention to Him and hear Him and go with my scripture. Is there anything too hard for God? Right? So the breakup that was tiring for me, I had 2 kids. They were young. I think 8 and 12, because they're 5 years apart, 8 and 12. The relationship had tired so much on our family that my family wasn't in a place to help me.
Okay, can I pause you for a second? Mm-hmm. What did that look like, sound like, and feel like for your children? Because I don't think parents take into account the impact that it really has on the kids.
Well, my kids maybe did not really know the intent of it because they were still around us or whatever. But my point I'm speaking of is that for me to have somewhere to stay, to come and stay with them. Their thing was that I'm not going to help you to help him.
Got it.
Right. So it had taken a toll on our relationship with my parents, my sisters. And so at that moment, I had to find somewhere for us to go. I remember when we separated, we were supposed to be going to stay at his brother's house. This is where his mother and sister and everybody was. And we separated, emptied the house. I was supposed to go. I show up with the kids, and he wasn't there. So a day went by. He still wasn't there. I'm asking his mother, where is he? Nobody knows where he is. So it left me in okay, so what am I going to do now with my kids? I had my car packed, my kids. Thought I was going to somewhere for shelter, and this is tearing me up even today.
I see.
Okay, but God.
But God. So you definitely was having a faith over fear moment. Your faith was definitely guiding you because nothing was working. You didn't have a clue. The things you thought you had in order to prepare tissue. Yes. Give me one moment. The things you thought you had prepared, the way that you thought it needed to go to do what needed to be done, it still didn't work. God said, no, not so. I need you to fully rely on me. Let me guide you. Let me drive. Just completely surrender. This is total surrenderance at this point for you. Because you didn't have anywhere, you didn't know what to do at this point.
It was. I remember it was Father's Day weekend. I went to my oldest sister and told her that, I don't know how I got to talk to her now, but, we went there and spent the weekend there because of just how it was where I was with his mother and his family. And she told me that I cannot let you and the kids stay here because you need to get yourself together. You cannot allow a man to have you moving around, doing this, moving about, and not be stable. So that broke my heart. She gave me the book, The Prayer of Jabez. I say that prayer even today. She shared with me one of her clients. She's a hairstylist. She shared with me a shelter that one of her clients knew of her that me and the kids could go to. That was when I had to stop and breathe and say, God, what are you showing me right now? What is it that you're trying to tell me that I can do? Because I'm thinking that I need my man here with me. I'm thinking that I need someone to help me. But God said, no, it's you. I'm the one that's going to show you how strong you are and what you can do, these kids. We went to the shelter. It was a church. It was an all-women shelter. They did not take boys. I had a boy and a girl. They met us. They loved us. They even loved my son. They said, well, we're going to let you meet the women in the house. And if the women in the house say that your son can stay, then y'all can stay. They fell in love with all of us. So here we go. We stayed in there 1 month. After that, during the whole time, I was looking for jobs. I was working, but not full time. Even then, at that time, going through that. So that's why I was really like I didn't know. So I was going up to the school a lot, and me and some other parents, we would go in the children's, the library to look on the computer then. We went on our phones a lot. So on the computer then to look for jobs. And I hadn't seen her. She said, where you been? And I was like, girl, I've been going through this, that, and the other, just trying to survive. She said, I've been looking for you. Because we did jobs together. She said, she had a son. She said, my son is not with me anymore. He's going to stay with his father. So I have his room. You and the kids want to come and stay with me? A stranger.
And all you knew her from was work?
No, just going to the school. Our kids went to the same school.
Oh,
so God had already put her in my path. I was sitting at the computer together, just talking and sharing. We just talking and sharing, right? So he already didn't set that up.
So let me pause you for a second. And
Oh God.
let me ask you this. So have you ever had challenges around feeling like folks didn't see you, hear you, or value you, and you kept looking to specific people to be certain things to you, and when you were at this quote unquote lowest point in your life in that moment, and then you felt like they closed their door, do you think like God needed you to see like, I have people in place for you, and I'm going to put the people that I want you to rely on, to trust in, because I've given them an assignment for you?
That's a sum of exactly what happened.
Wow.
No, but God, I depended on my family. So my friends and other people, they really didn't know much about what was going on. My family knew probably too much, but my family knew what we were going through because that's who I depended on.
So where are you? And I want you to share all of the. I know you want to go into details, but I want you to share like the most pivotal pieces of it, because what did that do with your relationship with your family in that moment? Did you have to go through a healing moment with your family because it felt like they turned their back on you, but it was really God really directing them to do that, so to speak? Because if they didn't do that, then
Right.
you would not. It wouldn't have been able to align in that way, right?
That's correct. I did feel some kind of way. I was upset with my older sister. But after doing the prayer with Jabez, and then after I got it, I stayed into the shelter for 1 month, and God miraculously brought something else for me to go to the next step. She and I agreed. She said, I'll give you 6 months. I asked her, I said, I need 6 months. That'll work for me. After those 6 months, I moved on. I bought a house.
High five.
I bought a house.
No, high five.
That's
what I'm talking
me
about.
And the kids, we bought a house.
Y'all bought a house.
And, because I started working, I was working 2 jobs. I was a bartender, and I did some. So I worked some long hours, and the kids were old enough to start taking care of themselves. But
So it was definitely a team effort.
It was a team effort, and I had to let them understand the struggle that we were going through. And that's why we're so bonded today. Because they saw us go through that, right? And they saw us come out of it. And it was nothing but God. I had to introduce God to them to see where we were going and what we were coming through.
Love it.
Yeah, and so, but long story short, God, like I say, He separated us, was working on both of us. He turned my husband around. He turned that mess into a message. He sent him 20,000 miles cross country and brought him back to me as a pastor. And I'm like, God, I didn't ask for that. All I asked for you is just to bring him back to be a father to my son. Because I was done. If it didn't work, we had our years in that, but God had to work on me too. To let me realize.
Do you think that your hurt and your pain and your disappointment, do you think if you didn't heal through that would have became the wedge that would have stopped you from having your husband as your pastor, as your best friend, as your everything?
Absolutely.
So you had to. Can we say this? Can we say that even in relationships is as hurtful or painful or terrible or traumatic as they are or can be, and that person feels like they've done a lot of right?
Right.
We still have a part to play in it.
We do.
We still have a part to play in it, and it's our responsibility in order to move forward in life in general. It's our responsibility to accept the parts that we contributed to it.
Exactly.
And heal, forgive ourselves, right? Forgive them, but forgive, or him or her, but in this case your husband, but forgive ourselves too. Because I would say that even through your choices and decisions that it would look different to your family, like you're over here, over there, over here, over there. Right. I would say that in those moments of you choosing to follow your husband, you did it based off of what you were told, what you saw, what you believed, but you also did it, you used that, all of that information to make the best informed decision that you could in those moments. And even though they didn't lead the way that you thought they should have because you were being obedient by following your husband and doing these things, God still came in. He loved you so much. Y'all, so much that God came and he just started directing and putting people in place, separating what needed to be separated, bringing together what needed to be together, because he knew that at the end of the day that you guys were going to make the right choice and be able to come back together.
Who would have thought? God just does miraculous things, because, most women, we know that once we separate with a guy, when we're finally done, and it only comes when we're done. You can tell me, my mom can tell me, they all told me, this is not good for you. I didn't raise you that way. I can't believe you doing this and accepting this, but until you're done, that's when it's going to be done. And then when that finally happened, that was allowing me to see what part of me that I have allowed to fade out. And I had to find her again. And to know that strength is what God gives me and carry me. And then I had a daughter that had to see me in that light, so I can let her be strong. And I had to have a son to know what he didn't need to do for a woman, and how he needed to be there for a woman. So God just brought so much into it. He brought other people into my life that showed me the part that I had that shine. And out of that birthed so many different gifts that I knew that I had, that I wasn't using, that I had dormanted. And I just started using them, and they just came, because that's how I ended up coming into therapy, because so many women just come to me. All my life, I've always had my friends and just people that I just meet. They share with me, feel comfortable enough to share with me. And I started thinking, back in 2010, my husband and I decided to go back to school after 30 years out of high school. And my first thought was,
so let me pause you. When did you guys get back together? And what did that look like, sound like, and feel like for you, for him, for your children? And then how did your family and his family perceive y'all? They think y'all were crazy? Like, why the heck you finally getting your life together? You done got a house, you done did this, you made it without him. Why are you back with him again? What's wrong with you? And you a pastor, and now all of a sudden you want to go back to this, and they probably was like, man, you better off without her too, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So what was going on in y'all heads that you was like, man, forget all of them. We're doing what God told us to do. We're choosing faith over fear. We're choosing God's voice over all y'all voice, and we're going to do what God has commanded us to do, which is to be one, to raise our family and show up in the purpose that God created our union to show up in, to become a pastor and a first lady, to minister over so many people, sharing your pain, your hurts, your disappointments, but turning into something so beautiful and so powerful, so purposeful. Like, what did that look like, sound like, and feel like quickly? If you can just share a little bit about that.
Okay, I just know that after God, I had to know that I had to forgive him first. And after I found out what part I played into it, then that was when I was able to open up to even hear him, because he always told me, God told me to come back and get my family. And I'm like, nah.
Love it. He was like, nah, he didn't tell me, because God didn't tell me that.
He didn't tell me.
I'm done. It's a wrap over here.
And then by him being miles away, it was easy for me to turn away from that. So he made the decision to come home. And I kept saying, God, show me that this is right. This is pastor. Because I know from before pastor or whatever, but so I kept watching and I kept watching.
And let me pause you for a moment right there, please, because that's important for the viewers to really understand. Like, forgiveness is a beautiful thing, but you can't have forgiveness and still holding on to the memories of the past, because then it counteracts the forgiveness. Like, you forgave, but you're gonna miss out. It's gonna keep coming up, and you're gonna miss out on what is supposed to be, because you're still holding on to the energy of the past, saying I forgave. That's not how forgiveness works. What if God did that to us? Yo, that ain't a good look.
Sure not. It
ain't a good look. So that took a lot of faith, really, though. That was a next level of faith. That was the next level of trust. But in that, that's because you had to learn how to trust you, right?
Exactly.
You had to learn how to trust you. Say, you know what? Yes, I did all of those things. I acknowledge I did those things. I forgive myself. I'm ready. I don't even want me to be a part of this, God. I'm hearing you. I'm trusting me to trust you to say, okay, God, I said I don't want the man, and he's telling me he is the man, and you the man up here. So let me just go ahead and fall back, listen all the way up to you, and make this do what it do, God, because I'm trusting you.
I had to. In the beginning, we were all rebellious. My kids were rebellious. We were rebellious because he came back. We came in, we remarried, and he was a pastor. So he joined the organization, and so he had a church. The church traveled us to Rome, Georgia. We traveled 2 hours there, 2 hours back every Sunday. So that was rebellious for us to have to pick up and go. So my kids could not understand the change that I was making because they did not see, I guess, the part of me following.
They didn't understand because they was like, wait a minute. He just had us go through all of this. We was uprooted. We was hurt. We was in the church. We didn't know what's going on. We had to be strong for our mama when we shouldn't have to be. We lost part of our childhood. And you want us to now follow this man? What are you talking about? What's wrong with you, mama? What you doing?
They were doing exactly that and saying that to me. And they were feeling some kind of way. And I had to just tell them, this is what I feel. I know, and I know when you know that you know that you know, and that God has shown you, this is the step that I had to show them what faith looks like.
I love it. And then let me add this, because that piece is so powerful. When a man hears God and he does what God says, he's able to trust. That's why men are so powerful and so important. And it's so, so, so important for a man to have a relationship with God, to really be the head, to be the leader. You've got to be led by God. He allowed himself, Pastor allowed himself to be vulnerable enough to listen to God, to let his ego go, his pride go, to listen to God, for God to lead him, to hear his voice, to come back and say, no, I don't care what you heard, what you talking about. I know what God told me. I'm your husband, you're my wife, this is my family, and we're going to figure this out. So I'm sure there was plenty of times he was on his knees crying and praying and trying to figure it out and choosing faith over fear too, because he's like, come on, God, now I heard you, and I'm still going through this. Come on, what's going to happen? I need something to happen. I need something to break. So while he praying, you praying, they rebelling, but all together, it all came together so beautiful. A beautiful mess became, what did you say earlier? A message. Became a message. And what is the message that you want to leave the folks with? What's the message?
The message is that things that you go through does not identify who you are and who you're going to become. Things that you go through are lessons that you learn to get better, or to advance, or to mature. It's definitely maturing. And it also opens the door for you to learn who you are.
So what does that look like, sound like, and feel like when you say maturing and knowing who you are and what you have and what you have to offer? What does that look like, sound like, and feel like? Say for a young person or for a family now, they're in the midst of deciding if they're going to go through a divorce. What would your message be towards a family getting ready to go through a divorce, and they really love each other, but it's just too much. It's just too much. What do you have to offer? What is God downloading to you to offer to the people?
They first have to look at what things brought them together, and to see if they have forgotten those things that brought them together. Because a lot of times we get in relationships and we come together on one level, and then once you're in the relationship, it goes out the window, and you start doing other things. My husband and I just had a conversation about this last night, and you have to keep doing what brought you together, and you have to look at what the most valuable thing is to each of you. Each of you have important parts in the relationship. So whatever your needs, it's like the 5 love languages. Whatever
I love the 5 love
languages. Those things that you need in that relationship, you have to keep those things going and on fire. They have to stay lit.
Gotta stay lit, y'all. You gotta stay lit.
They got to stay lit so that the relationship can continue to grow. Because I understand that when you come into a relationship in the beginning, you're one age, you're one way, and we mature and we grow, we get older. So some things that you may have done in before or when you first got together, you don't do that anymore. It's something that maybe you don't want to do anymore.
So what I'm hearing you say, that it's important to sit down and revisit what you both enjoy doing together and what your new interests are and where your goals are, where you want to go moving forward. Because in life we change, so as we're changing, relationships are changing. And then we get to a level, and then change happens again. And then you get to another level, right? Yeah. And so oftentimes, could we say that oftentimes when relationships is all like just right? It's because one may be changing and the other one is still stuck, or they cool where they at.
They complacent. They get comfortable.
Or it can be that one doesn't know how to listen to what's being communicated.
That is very important.
Or the other doesn't know how to communicate, because just because you're saying words doesn't mean that you're communicating. It's about what the person on the other end that you're speaking to, how are they understanding this information and processing it? You could tell me you love me all day long, but if I don't understand the way you love me, I'm going to say you don't love me. You could say you got my back all day long, but if you don't got my back the way I need you to have my back, you ain't got my back. It don't. And so what does that look like? Really saying, hey, as my husband, I would like for you to do this for me. And him saying, as my wife, I would like for you to do this for me. And then you being able to say, well, you know what, babe, I can do this, but I can't do this, or I'm going to need you to help me do this, or remind me to do this, and vice versa. When you're doing that, that's communication. And when you're doing that, that's when you're able to unlock. You're able to unlock even the more riches, the treasures, and you're able to walk in that purpose even more. And you're able to just glow, right? Like you're glowing. You're a glowing couple, yo. Like that's the most beautiful thing ever. What does that sound like to you? Because I see a little tears coming in your ears. How does that make you feel?
Like I say, my husband and I just had that same conversation last night. And the end of that, he was saying that that's what you call a power couple.
Look at that. Look at you, God. Look at you. I wasn't even there with them. I promise you I wasn't. I wasn't even there.
That's what you call a power couple. And even now, we've been together 36 years. Even now in our communicating, there are still some struggles. My husband has always been one to like to talk when you talk. And I don't know if that's the pastor in him or the
well, he's doing a great job now, because we ain't heard nothing out of him, y'all. Y'all ain't heard a man voice yet. He doing awesome.
And that is the part, to me, my best thing is communicating. And sometimes he'll tell me, don't therapy me. He'll think I'm analyzing and therapy. But that's just the approach that I know to take to get what I need out of the conversation or communication that I'm giving. Is to ask questions or
and then we're going to go ahead and let people know where they can find you. Share. We have 2 minutes left, y'all. So with that being said, do you think hearing him say, because you're saying, well, this is how I communicate, it's just in me. 1 minute left. This is how I communicate. And he's saying, but don't therapy me. So what is that happy medium? That's just something to think about. Find that happy medium. So go ahead and let the folks know where they can find you at.
Okay, I am our First Lady Olivia Brown. Our church name is Kingdom Birth Ministries. We're at 195 Arizona Avenue. Pastor Anthony Brown is our pastor. My email address is mirrorsoftheheart.ILS@yahoo.com. My phone number is 669-226-0381. Call me anytime. My doors are open, and I would love to talk with you. I love women, I love children, and I love elevating and exhorting women to their best self that they can be.
Awesome. Okay, so we would love for you to come back for a part 2, if you don't mind. Would you be open to that?
I will.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, y'all. Well, you know where to find me. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at iGlow Consulting, IGLOW Consulting. And this is your girl, Transformation Lifestyle Coach, Dr. Hazel Jay. Get lit with Dr. Hazel Jay. Deuces.